Hello, everyone, and welcome to the outline class. If were in Miss Lynn's class that happened this past week, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. I think, maybe a slightly different take on it. We'll see. But first, because I always forget to do this at the end, I want to talk to you about reviews again. So excuse me if you listened to my spiel yesterday, but we're trying to get more feedback from everybody. And we know it's tiresome and exhausting just to, if you're one of us that likes to attend a lot of classes, you don't want to write out a review for every class, right? But hey, even if you could just give us that star rating, that helps. Know if you really like this class, didn't care for it much. But if there's a class that something really stood out, whether good or bad, because we need to know both to improve, please do leave us comments about that. So if there was something that stood out in that class, you really like this, you would love to see more of it, or maybe it gave you an idea for a different class, let us know in the comments. If something just fell flat, that class didn't work for whatever reason, just let us know that too. Again, this helps us improve. So please try to leave a review. You should get an email within an hour or two after class. I actually think it comes sooner than that. And if for some reason you don't get an email, but there's something you really want the teacher to know, feel free to reach out to us on Discord. I think all of us go by the same name on Discord that you also see here in Zoom. So that just lets us know, yeah, this really worked, I loved it, or no, wasn't so great. All right, so today we are going over the outline types. I will link this document after class because I will be filling it in as we go. And I do have chat closed out, so one of my lovely co-hosts will answer questions as we go or call something out to me if it needs to be addressed. You can see here I did do a couple of them because it was taking a while, plus I was tweaking the plugin. So I'm going to actually go over that. So you see reverse outline. This is actually a term I just learned a few months ago. I didn't realize I was doing it all this time. So we'll look at that and the results of the scene by scene outline plugin. And again, I'll fill this out as we go. So excuse my back and forth while we're working and pass this along to y'all. So we're going to be using the Slayer story. I know y'all are probably tired of seeing this story. I'm sorry, but it's fully fleshed out. I have all those details in there that I know I need to get brought in. So I thought it was a good one to test with. All right, so this is the brain dump. All of this right here, 1,995 words. Again, I like to max out my brain dump and synopsis. That's why I spend a couple of hours going back and forth, refining them, getting all my details in there, making sure everything's in line. So that scene by scene came out. Let me show that to you. So this is a plugin, that scene by scene outline plugin. And this is just something I made because those of you who have been in class with me long enough see how I like to work with my chapters. You can see right away, this is essentially how I like things broken down for me. I don't do well with those big paragraphs of text. Typically, it's a bunch of words I don't like, or I get something wrong. I like seeing this quick, easy breakdown of my plot points, and then I can flesh those out as I want, either in the chapter summary or in beats, whatever I want. This flow is what works for me. So this is the result of the scene by scene outline plugin. It stuck very well with my brain dump. 28 scenes. Each of these, pretty much all of them could at least probably be broken down into 2 chapters. Some of them maybe 3. So you can do the math on that. And that costs 2,456 credits. And again, gave the 28 scenes, and I should be able to get 35 to 40 chapters out of it. And it stayed very true. I think there might have been 1 or 2 where the wording was off, but it's because of me. I recognized my own wording right away. So that is the result of that. Reverse outline for those who do not know what that is, because I just learned. Let me pull up this document and I can actually show you. All right. So this is the brain dump. Same thing y'all see inside Sudowrite. With reverse outlining. Wrong one. Reverse outlining is essentially just taking that brain dump and then breaking it apart into the chapters as it needs. This actually isn't perfect. This was back when we only had 12 default chapters. That's how long ago I've had this story in Sudowrite. Scroll down. So we only had 12 default chapters at the time. Look, see, y'all don't know how good y'all have it. Back in the old days, we were severely limited, okay? But this one, especially this last one, I could easily break that down into 3, probably 5 chapters. But reverse outlining is, I just took this brain dump right here and separated, okay, where's chapter 1 going to end? Where's chapter 2? And just keep going like that. Because again, keep in mind, I have refined my brain dump at that point. Make sure everything's as perfect as I can make it. Follows all of the plots in order. My characters' names are there, the setting mentions, all of that. So reverse outline is just a matter of breaking it down. And I would be inputting it manually into the outline. So of course it's 0 credits. All right, any questions on reverse outline or the scene by scene plugin? Nope. All right. So we are going to run our synopsis. I'm going to put in the new synopsis actually. So we are going to create an outline. I'm going to use the old format, but at the end of class, we will browse the new one for those who still haven't seen it and have some questions on that. We're going to go through each of these chapter types. All right, so let's start with novel outline. Novel outline, you do need something in the genre box, but it takes into consideration your genre, all of your story information, and it adjusts the number of chapters it thinks it needs based on that. It's typically my default. I think actually a lot of people prefer to use this one. I also find it will listen better to instructions. And ignore my names, y'all. I never gave my characters last names. The AI didn't like that. And it gave them horrible last names. You know what? So it's going off rails right away, right at the beginning. So I'm actually going to force stop it and come back to my synopsis. Make sure I have enough words for this. Oh, I have 852 words in my synopsis. How did I get away with? Did they expand synopsis on us without saying?
Stop. Click in the box and look at the bottom.
I did. Let me come up here. Okay. No, it's a miscount. Okay, because this, okay, it's a miscount because this says I have 796 and that's what I copied. But in here, it is saying 852. Had me all excited there for a minute, thinking we finally got that. So I'm
Wait,
not
don't
actually,
forget in case it's a boo-boo.
what's that?
Don't forget to screenshot it in case it's a boo-boo.
Yep. You went over the count of 800 words.
Yeah. But according to the page, it's only 796. So let me see if it's going to keep letting me type. Or if it might only let me get 4 more words in. I'm not sure where the miscount is coming in unless the hyphens are throwing it off. But let me come up here and instruct it to.
Yeah, I still leave you right.
There we go. Maximum length is 800 feet, 800 words. Okay, so I'm telling it to open with this chapter and actually going to do. All right. I'm going to jump back down to outline and do novel outline again. For those unaware, they have said they're going to double the synopsis box. I just don't know when that's coming. I was hoping it would come at the same time as outline, since outline pulls from synopsis. But we shall see. All right, so that worked. I gave it the instruction to start with my prologue like I wanted, and it's doing that. So slow. Well, while we're waiting, I'm curious to know, what is y'all's favorite outline template? Put that in the chat for me. Same, Melody, same. I was all excited. Right. Novel. Romance is my main genre to write in, but I tell you what, I do not like the romance outline. Never really cared for it. Now, Canvas doesn't seem to do as bad, but I'm usually instructing it a certain way as well. But to me, the romance outline here is very cheesy sounding. I will say it was Hollywood Beats, I think, when they first released the outline templates and that we were testing them. I actually tested it with this story with a certain chapter, and Hollywood Beats did an amazing job of bringing in a flashback scene just perfectly. So I do believe when I write the flashback scene here, I'm going to try to compare it with whatever I generated versus having Hollywood Beats create that outline and incorporating that flashback for that chapter. Okay, so it looks like the novel outline is the clear winner. Can you control how many chapters or tell it roughly how many words? No on the words. For chapters, okay, so it used to work to tell it how many chapters in the genre box. That stopped working. With the new outline, I actually tested it again the other day, and it did listen when I put the instructions in synopsis or in synopsis and genre together. It kind of listened when I just put it in genre. It was one chapter off. But it did seem to listen when I put in both synopsis and genre or just synopsis by itself for how many chapters I wanted. All right, so let's see how this one followed real quick. So it opened where I wanted it. Go straight to her.
Sorry, Nicole. There's a
Uh-huh.
question which I think would fit perfectly. What would you add if this is a series, and wait, does it require a cliffhanger? I guess.
So if I need a cliffhanger in the genre box, I am going to put insert cliffhanger ending. That's something I learned from Ryan Mather, because I actually have a series and the first book ends that way with something traumatic happening. And of course, the AI wanted to continue, and it created 2 or 3 more chapters in the outline to make it a nicer ending and wrap it up. So Ryan had me try this out, and it worked like a charm. So if I put that, it is going to end exactly where I tell it to end. And then I started putting it here in genre and in style, because we know style affects beats and prose. So if I want that cliffhanger ending beat or cliffhanger ending in my prose, I will just keep it in both of these boxes for emphasis. All right, so I'm just going to glance at this real quick.
Let me
Go ahead.
let me ask you something, just piggybacking off of the previous question. Now, with genre and style, usually we're told to always keep updating it and keep updating it. Do you put that towards do you put the insert cliffhanger ending? Would you put that like towards the end of your when you get closer to the end of your story, then put that in there so the AI doesn't
I've actually been keeping it in there pretty much the entire time.
Okay.
And so that's my fault if it, if I do get to the end and forget to remove it and it ends on another cliffhanger and I actually didn't want it to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just wondering, it's I know we've been getting that you tell your AI, tell the AI how you want your readers to see this. So if
Exactly.
you tell too much to the AI, it's gonna put everything all in the first couple of chapters and stuff like that. So I just wanted to know, putting that, would that be best to put it towards adding that towards when you get towards the end of your story?
Yeah, it's wherever you need it. So I need it in the beginning to generate my outline with that cliffhanger ending. I need to put it there because otherwise the AI loves to create additional chapters to wrap things up nicely.
Right. So,
And then, like I said, I just keep it in there. I found it does help cut down a little, doesn't completely eliminate, but it helps cut down on the AI wrapping things up.
gotcha. Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So sorry if I'm scrolling too fast. Y'all just tell me. I'm just trying to get through this. Okay, so it is doing a good job staying on track. Right. So it did perfect as far as staying on track, all of the plot points. And that cost 15,410. All right, so pretty good. There's a reason it's most people's favorites. Let's try Hero's Journey and see what happens. Yeah, thank you, Gianna. That one was novel. I remember the days it used to fly through this. Didn't they say they updated this to 3.5 sonnet?
Yes, but they also changed. No,
Synopsis too?
5 sonnet is synopsis. I believe each of the outline types, they might be powered by their own brain. I know that one of the magic makers mentioned that they had to update the brain behind novel outline.
Right, I remember. Okay, yeah, I remember that now. Okay. So we don't know the models exactly, but I'm one of those two. I don't really care if it works, it works. I know a lot of people want to know the model behind everything, but since they're constantly updating and tweaking things as needed, that is a big ask for the documentation to stay up to date as well. But they did say that was one of the issues with our new outline stuff, that a few of us were generating and it would act like it finished generating and charged us, but it didn't actually give us anything. Turns out we were maxing out the output, and they mentioned that LLM was just returning a blank page because of it being maxed out. I should have noted how many chapters were in each. Do y'all remember how many chapters were in?
I don't remember. History button?
Oh,
No. Well, there's 24 in this one.
Except it's actually not finished. So I can't even click into history,
Oh,
but it didn't stop on a good spot. I think it's done and it's just stuck. I'm going to try to refresh though. Yeah. So it just got stuck. Let's see. 15,009. Oh, can't even scroll down. Okay, sorry. Appears to be a lot of bugs going on right now.
I think that's a mid generation save. I think if you go to
I
the
think
1115, that's your novel, I think.
yeah. Okay, so 24 chapters here. And then it was 24 chapters on this one too. All right, so let's see how it does. Okay, so it opens with, it really, really, really wants to open with Alicia. So it did not listen to the instructions to open where I wanted it to. And it's hero's journey, so of course it always brings in that mentor. Honestly, Alicia wasn't really supposed to have a Slayer mentor. Jackson was supposed to become her mentor after they met. Or, after they fled the sanctuary together. But hero's journey keeps doing that. It always likes to throw in somebody else. Just scanning through, see if it followed everything else. All right. So the 24 chapters, I can tell you right now, is definitely not working for this story because it's wrapping things up too quickly after her vampire transformation. So all right, let's try Hollywood Beats. So that is my second favorite, Hollywood Beats. Miss Lynn, what did you notice as far as generating a chapter from them and the Beast? Did anything stand out between different templates? The different outline types? I think Miss Lynn is not here or talking muted again, like she likes to do. Hey, Comb, it's been a while. We missed you. All right, while it's generating, I'm going to go ahead and start reading here. So again, it's not opening. I know I still have my instructions and synopsis, right? Yes, instructions and synopsis. But it is really, really, really not wanting to open there on that prologue.
Is it even putting the prologue in there?
It actually is not. It didn't on the last one either. Oh, that's something too.
Think you have to call your prologue chapter 1.
Well, novel followed it. It opened up where I wanted it to. That doesn't look right. Right, so it didn't open. Has the themes. So that's the other one introduces mentor. This one always has themes. And only 20 chapters. Okay. And let's see what that cost us. Right, so for the most part, they're ending good. I mean, they're staying in line with things. The last two have just introduced something that I don't necessarily want. See, theme of balance between light and darkness. I'm not actually sure if that actually fits, but we'll go with it. All right, so that one was Hollywood Beats. Story Circle, this is better for short stories. It should only give us 6 to 8 chapters. Let me check chat. Lots of character descriptions in this one. Okay, so it completely, but again, this because it's for a short story, it completely overlooked her meeting the Vampire King and getting executed. And a lot going on in chapter 8. What did I say it introduced? Character descriptions. And so one more, we got romance, my least favorite. I do use that one in Canvas and I'm looking forward to actually using it with the new outline thing when all the features are released, because we will actually be able to write using those different templates right there. So when doing the romance outline, I say again, I find it's too cheesy. I have to put a lot of instructions. So when I'm working in Canvas, I'll say, hey, develop this romantic relationship between so and so, and include a few additional instructions. So romance. I'm curious, out of those of you here, who has not been able to get into the outline beta yet?
Cats, Chaos, and Coffee said they were too late. Another said hasn't tried. One said going in today.
Okay, so here is the link. Gianna. I will be showing the new outline at the end of this. Yes, sir. That is the link right there if you want to get on the wait list. Cats, Chaos, and Coffee, get with us in the Book in a Month channel if you do not remember these special instructions.
As far as I'm concerned, they haven't done the second wave either, because I have my second account on the second wave and it's not open to the new outline yet.
They did the second wave,
Why they
like
forgot
the
me?
day after opening. But I don't know if they've added anybody since then. All right, so let's look at romance here. Oh my, and so no, it did not open where I wanted it to. So all of these have overlooked the prologue that I really need. And it just goes straight to her, which I understand is the protagonist that is Writing Craft 101, I think, to open with them, but I really do need that prologue in there for some little foreshadowing and clues and things. Plus, that's the way I want my book, dang it. All right. This is romance. So you see here, showcasing her build, what she's thinking about. Typical of a romance, because you do need to showcase them in the ordinary world, what's wrong with it, to get an idea of how their love interest is going to change things, but I don't like it. Got this wrong. He does not have prophetic visions. Okay, so yeah, these two are completely wrong. Sorry if I'm scrolling too fast. I figured y'all probably know this story as well as I do at this point. Notice something here, and I've noticed it in a few of these that I've generated so far. It is saying, the king's ordering her to be executed, but being AI, I think it's not really wanting to delve into, hey, somebody shoots her. So this would definitely be something I would actually put in, at this point, he's just ordering the guard. And then it jumps to, there's an arrow in her chest. I would actually say the guard shoots her with such and such weapon or does whatever. And getting all romantic. Okay, and so this actually excluded her trip to the underworld. So 24 chapters. And I think it basically overlooked pretty much the whole climax on this one. 394. So it is partial to 24 chapters, as y'all can see. All right, so let's do 2 custom instructions real quick. I'm not going to actually check how well it followed. It should follow regardless, because I'm going to use novel outline. But oh, forgot I have it on the page for y'all. All right, so this is if I want to use the scene and sequel and generate plots for a chapter. So I'm going to put that up here. I'm going to delete this because I'm not going to have room for everything. I don't have room at all actually to put these instructions in. So that may be something y'all are going to have to play with on your own. Because it would take me so much time to figure out what to cut out and everything here. Find. Just restore this one. There we go. All right, so asking for a scene and sequel, which I absolutely love. And it's also asking for 10 beats per chapter, plus the usual things that I like to have.
Can you put a copy of that in the chat, please?
Yes, ma'am. Is this good enough? It's in that document I'm going to link, or you want it separate?
If it's in that, that's cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do novel. Like I said, that's my default, and it does listen well.
Whenever you're ready, there's a question.
Go ahead.
Will the AI get confused if you write too much information in each chapter in outline? On some occasions, I'm writing in my own outline to fit my complicated story. And when I generate a chapter, it just makes up its own story.
All right, so there's 2 parts to that. First of all, I used to write these huge chunks of chapter summary for my outline for each chapter. However, since I used Beats for my first draft, I found that all of those details that I took the time to flesh out and put in that chapter summary, it completely overlooked when generating Beats. So after that, I no longer put a whole bunch of stuff in the chapter summary. That's why I like to keep things short. I'd rather, since I know it's going to get overlooked when I do Beats, I may as well just take the time and put that information in the Beats. So be careful with going over, because it's only going to generate between 12 and 15 beats, okay? Other than that too, whenever you do your chapter summary in your outline here, you want to make sure you're being specific. Again, I do this with practically every box, starting with brain dump. I try to eliminate a lot of pronouns. I'm not as anal about it in the other boxes as I am in beats, but I do try to be specific. And if I read a sentence and I'm thinking, oh, the AI just might confuse this one, I will put the name in. I put setting locations in. I get very specific in all of my boxes. So if you're having a lot of pronouns, especially since you have all that information in your chapter summary, go through, make sure there's nothing you said that could possibly get confused. Put your characters' actual names, put the setting locations if you need them. Again, just be specific. But counter to that, like I said, I found when I put all that detail in, it just got overlooked when it generated beats, so I stopped. 12 to 15 beats. How many words are we talking? Like in that chapter summary. So if you're going really, really heavy, I can see it. It's either a matter of not being specific enough and the AI getting confused on who's doing what and when, or there's just so much information that it's just combining, condensing, whatever, and jumping around. What about some of our other users? How do you like to approach your chapter summary? Do you give it everything, or do you like to keep it concise, short, and sweet?
I go for middle ground. My chapter summaries are usually fairly chunky, but I do reiterate a lot in my beats from the summary if I'm using beats. I have learned that one of the hardest parts of learning how to use AI as a writing tool is learning how to convey what's in your head, because we as the author know everything. Even if you can't necessarily articulate it, it's in there. And figuring out how to convey that information, effectively to the tool is difficult. Remembering to incorporate body positions, remembering to tell it, this person that was injured in the last chapter, they're still injured. Remembering to name each of those characters and each of those settings that should be in the scene. Things that we think are implied or just a given because we know our own mind and we know our story, you have to actually break down for the AI, and that can be pretty difficult.
It's easy to forget that the AI doesn't actually think. All it's doing is basically some math to, Ms. Lynn will tell you AI is not great at math, but it's figuring out the probability. What is the next most likely word given all of this information, that it's a fantasy or romance or tragedy or something. What's the next word that's going to come after this? That's all it's doing.
It's a word slot machine.
That's it.
And to that end, be very careful which of those generic genre words you're keeping in your box, because they will heavily affect your outline and everything else.
Yeah.
If you can't get more specific, do. Instead of just sci-fi, put soft sci-fi or space opera. Instead of just fantasy, put, some specific aspect. Dark, fantastical adventure,
All right, so this actually did not finish. Gave 9 chapters, but it shoved a lot into the beats. I can also say I was reading while it was generating, and there's a lot that just doesn't actually happen. The king supposedly sending them on the mission to get the red blade, that's not how things play out. So this isn't my go-to. However, I do kind of like this overview of how it is interpreting the story, and I could easily make changes. So if you're just the type, no matter what, you hate generating beats, but you want to work in chapter generator, this might be one you want to play with. Generate the beats here, essentially, change them up to be exactly what you're needing, and then just copy these beats over into the beats box. This is especially good for those of you who want to control the prose output, because remember, essentially it comes down to the fewer beats, less prose. So this one wasn't great, but it's still an easy to read format for me and work with it just because of how my brain processes everything. I did not notice, let's see, is it starting where we told it to? It is not starting where it told it to. It is refusing that, just flat out refusing that. All right, now this one is the one that I normally use right here.
Miss Lynn made a suggestion earlier, and it might have more impact now that they've changed the main brain behind novel outline. Maybe putting it as start with a prologue as the first chapter. I don't think that's exactly what Mrs. Lynn said, but it's close.
Actually, you know what? I just noticed on that last one, I actually wasn't telling it to start there. On that last generation, I had deleted that to make room for my instructions.
See, as I've said before and will say again, if the AI's messing up, you might be the drama.
But I did have it right on those others, dang it. This last one, no, my fault, completely my fault. All right, so this is the normal instructions. If y'all been in my classes enough, y'all have seen it 100 times, but it is copied in that document as well. So novel outline again. And just in case y'all wanted to see if I was doing too much talking or scrolling, this is that other custom prompt, how it's going to come out, and you'll see how it comes out with my new one.
You ready for another question?
Sure.
Stephanie said, I know that AI can't keep secrets, so it's recommended to only show the chapter you're working with at that time in the outline box. But is there anything against leaving previous chapters visible in the outline?
So this is where I differentiate from a lot of people. I do not change up my boxes. When my brain dump is done, I'm done. I usually don't touch it again. Same thing with synopsis and same thing with outline. Once my outline gets generated, I go through it and make all the adjustments I need to make sure everything's good, exactly the way I want the story to play out, and I leave it all there. That being said, I'm also like, I know if you do run out of rooms, I will work in acts maybe. So maybe just act 1 in there or act 2, things like that to make it a little bit easier. But I really don't have that because you can see how lean my chapter summaries are. That's another reason I don't have a lot of issues with running into that word limit at the moment. However, if it is a matter of word limit, so let's approach this both ways. If it's a matter of word limits, I can delete all of this wording, but I'm going to leave my chapter heading. So I'm going to leave chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but I'm just going to delete all of these excess words in there for the summary. And then let's say I'm actually working on chapter 5, that will have the words. Then when I'm ready for chapter 6, delete the words from chapter 5, chapter 6 words. But I'm just keeping all of these headings to help the AI and me stay in line on what number the chapter really is. Because if I just have chapter 5 here, it's going to count that as chapter 1. So I leave my complete entire outline in there. I rarely have an issue. The only issues I've ever had were, for some reason, it kept happening with a chapter 3 in a couple of projects where when I generated beats, it would actually bring in beats for chapter 3 and 4. I don't know what it was, if it was just coincidence that it happened to be the same chapter or what. But that's really the only issue I have. But again, keep in mind, I'm that person that goes through and spends a lot of time on each box, getting rid of all those things I think might cause a problem, being specific, getting rid of the pronouns, putting my names in, my settings as much as I can, and watching my wording to not reveal anything. So I think that is why I really don't have an issue with having my whole entire outline in there. But if you aren't that comfortable yet with the wording, you aren't quite sure what to say, what not to say, it might work better for you to get rid of those excess chapters and stuff.
But I think the point was a little bit, Nicole, is that if you were writing, say, your first chapter in the beats, it has a tendency to write almost all the story if all the story is in the outline. Whereas if you take a huge chunk of the outline out, it can't do that. It can't look ahead. I think that's a problem in the beats. It always seems to try and look ahead.
See, I don't, like I said, the only time I had that was in 2 projects when I generated a chapter 3. Otherwise, I don't have that issue. But I again
Well, you're
think
right,
it's
I think it's
because I
very
spend
well
so much
written.
dang time
Your
manipulating my
beats are very well
boxes.
written now.
So I'm sorry, say that again.
Sorry, yeah, but your beats are very, very well written, aren't they? Which I think helps.
I hope, I hope so. But yeah. Again, I know it's a pain, all these little things I say to focus on, but I'm convinced that's why I don't have quite that issues, because I don't mind taking that time and tweaking things. But this is all about finding what works for you. If you absolutely hate the process like mine and you know you're not going to do it, or it's going to drive you crazy to where you're not even going to want to write, absolutely do not do that. Find what works for you, whether that's deleting some things or whatever. I know John is a big proponent of deleting the future chapters, or even saying lies in those future chapters so that it writes that current one. If you are finding it's reading ahead a lot, it's writing that current one with context that you want the reader to believe, but yet things are actually going to change later. Did that make sense? Or did I completely mess that up?
I mean, it made sense to me, but
Yeah, that made sense.
Okay. Did that answer the original question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome. Just noticed something. Wait. So it actually wrote epilogue. Yeah, and so y'all can see it's only stopping at chapter 20. It's not going to see that epilogue because it have to have chapter 21. And now it'll recognize it. I'm putting that it was incomplete generations, but this is more for my notes so I can also pass it along to the team. All right, so y'all notice the last one had the 10 chapters per beat, or 10 beats per chapter. And this is how I normally like to have mine. Again, just because this is how my brain works best. Give me this little bit of stuff to focus on and let me fix it and make it right. And then I go to the next group and I do this. So I'm fixing my whole entire outline and then proceeding. And of course, it started with Alicia. So it did not, because I did instruct it this time, right? Yep. So. Since we're almost at time, I'm not going to bother reading through that. I'm just going to get the cost real quick. And I will say, having that time and all of that, that does seem to also help cut down on the AI trying to, tell time by the sun and everything. And it's especially good if you can actually give it alternate weather types. So it's storming outside, or it's gray cloud cover, something that it can latch on to other than the sun's rising or dipping. All right, so that is that sheet with the credit cost, results, and the special instructions if y'all want to use that. All right. Any questions before I go to the new outline? Don't worry, y'all, I'm not going to be generating all that again. Definitely not. I have not had enough coffee for that. No questions? Oh, can I use our normal time? So you know what, Jade? I would actually put both because the AI might not. I'd be interested in knowing what other people are thinking. I'm worried that the AI wouldn't understand that time, but then I'm thinking if you have your world building cards with it, well, it could. So that would be a good way to actually pull in that time.
I would probably suggest using, normal time and then a semicolon and then you know, that time in your specific world time. So 11 o'clock in the morning, Earth time, semicolon, 4 o'clock in the evening, blah, blah time.
And you could also like test a chapter. Well, is it bringing in that Earth time or like putting in prose on Earth? It's actually 7 p.m. But putting your world's time, your actual world's time in there, I think would be a great way to latch onto that world building card if you have those created. Thank you, Stacy. All right, so you'll have the link to apply for the unlimited outline beta. It is on a project by project basis. Those of you who were here when world building and characters were released, y'all remember it was about the same thing. We had a deadline then. We do not have that currently. I'm sure it will come after they release it to everybody. But as far as if you get into the beta, each project you go into, you will have the option of either using that old outline, so not messing with this at all, or using the outline unlimited. Something I was confused on, and Josh set me straight. When you generate the new outline, I thought it was actually reading the old outline. It is not doing that currently. I do believe that is coming. Like that will be an option. You can either just import your outline or have it read this old outline. Somebody correct me if I said that wrong.
Yes, so when you opt into the new outline format, there will be a way to, I'm answering this and I'm not sure it was the real question, but there will be a way to move your current existing outline in a one-to-one, exact same to the new outline cards. Or you can have the new outline look at your existing outline and make it better, I think. Or you can have the new outline generate a totally new thing based on your synopsis, from my understanding.
And it does take a good little bit to actually generate the outline, y'all. So get ready for that. Do we have any more questions there? Because we still got probably a good 2 minutes.
Well, I was going to type this, but I'll say it since we have time. Also, from my understanding, there will be a way to rewrite specific chapter cards with a instruction box, just like we have on generating a character. And from the peak
But
we
wait,
had,
there's more.
yeah, but wait, for just 2 easy payments of $59.95. Anyway, so you will also have, and this was from the sneak peek, a way to update your chapter cards retroactively, and it will read that linked chapter document and give you a recap or a summarization. And then, for those of us plancers who we spend way too much time on an outline and then throw it out the window.
Well, I thought I clicked on the right thing. Clearly, I did not. While we're still waiting, because it's still stalled there at the end, which has been happening. All right, so this is a glimpse from the last community call that happened. I want to make this clear for those of you who are not in the beta yet, but might suddenly get in tomorrow. All of these features are not released yet, okay? It is a very simple outline that you're going to see as soon as it's done generating. It is very simple right now. Basically, it's just separated chapters. That's what you have at the moment, okay? And the rewrite outline box. But these are kind of a glimpse of what the final product is expected to look at. Final design might change, all that yada yada fine print stuff. They're going to release all of these features in waves. So, make sure everything's good with the basics first, and then implement all of these additional features. So you'll be able to tell it your POV right here, first person, third person. And this is more of a glimpse of how it's going to look towards the end. So you'll have this to select, which we do not have now. We don't have this POV intents now, but that will be coming. You can rename your chapters. You can drag them around, all of that. You can generate a new chapter. We do have this. You'll see that. That update Stacy was talking about. Won't have to worry about that formatting. Can generate the new chapter. You can rewrite the outline, import, export, and the basics of everything. So you don't have to worry about the word limits. There is an actual word limit, but I think they said it's like 100,000. And let's face it, if you wrote 100,000 words of an outline, you just wrote your book. Stop creating an outline, okay? Just write your dang chapters. You won't have to worry about that formatting, the drag and drop. So we will be able to create the individual chapters and rewrite them, just like Stacy said, the same way we rewrite a trait in the characters or world building fields. We can do that. All right, so that is that. And let's see. All right, so we have our novel outline. Let's see what that one cost. 13,638. So you can see that's actually a good chunk cheaper than the others. However, I noticed my prompting, for whatever reason, does seem to add to that. Of course, it makes sense, though, adds to input. Up here, I can add that chapter. So I can add an act, chapter. I can put it, see, add a chapter after chapter 1. Okay, so there's my prologue. There's chapter, oh, I did not do it. Did I do that wrong? It didn't add it at all. Oh, it added it up here. So,
Oh,
okay.
you can change. Yeah, you're about to show it, but I was about to say you can change where you want a new chapter card added. Instead of like with character cards, the new character card is automatically added at the end. With chapter cards, you can choose on a granular level where you want that new chapter card to live.
But it actually does not work. So I kept
Are you
telling,
sure? It
yep,
resets time.
I kept telling it after chapter 1. And no, there's nothing after chapter 1.
Well,
And that was the
did you
second
tell it
one.
it was
No, I didn't tell it was pretty.
okay? Well, there you go. Okay, this is your fault.
All right, so I can add a chapter here. I can name it. I can drag it all the way down to the bottom or wherever I want it to go. Oh, sorry if I just made anybody nauseous. And delete the chapters if I want. So eventually I will be able to, let's say I just added this epilogue. Oh, that already has one, but let's say I added this epilogue. When I click into it, again, like the character and world building, I should get a fill me in or rewrite button. So fill me in. If I don't like it, hit that rewrite and tell it what to do. All right, so this gave us 24 chapters. But again, this did listen better whenever I told it to give me like 5 chapters. I put that in the genre and synopsis box, and that worked. I actually have that prompt in the beta outline if y'all want to look for it. So I can drag all of these around if I want. And you'll see I still had my prompting in the synopsis to do the chapters the weight that I want them. But you can see it's really only doing this. It's bringing in this portion, but it's not formatting how I like those 3 little headers. Instead, it's giving me the paragraph. Mr. Josh said he's going to have to actually look into that to see how to get it to work, because lots of people are wanting their own little format within a chapter. However, once that rewrite chapter comes out, I'm thinking I could just tell it to rewrite it this way. I don't know. I have to see how it actually works. Doing those 3 headers in each chapter from the get-go tends to lay out my chapter differently. So I have to see how well it works. I noticed one thing, and I've already brought this to their attention. Why does he keep saying he has the gift of prophecy? I have no clue. Must have generated something in the card and I never corrected it. It brings in a lot of character details, setting details, which actually isn't too bad. But again, this is essentially what we have now. We have a delete button. Don't have those ability to rewrite or fill in here, but I can move all these chapters around, rename them. It doesn't care. It's going to see it all. And then I could tell it here how to rewrite. So let me see how this does. I'm going to copy this, paste that instruction in, and I'm also going to tell it to generate 30 chapters. I'm going to double reinforce it. Triple. Let's go for triple. Why not? All right, so I told it to generate 30 chapters, gave it the format that I want, and let's do rewrite. Stacy over here calling me the drama.
Only because you are.
And y'all, just so y'all, bye Gianna. Thank you for your help. Just so y'all know, the announcements channel in Discord, that is where you will always find the beta links. Once they open up to everybody. So they'll always make an announcement, hey, we're looking for testers for this, sign up here. So always be looking at that announcement channel. That's where they let you know any updates, recent updates, changes, new features, things like that. If you're one of those, you don't really check into Discord, you don't like it, I at least urge you to check out the announcements channel. So while it's rewriting and taking its sweet time, I'm looking at questions. Has the POV thing. Can we put the header in the chapter cards? If you want a header that applies to your prose, I would still put it in the beat box. Me personally, because it would have more effect. Because remember, your prose is only seeing your style, genre, and beats box. So when it generates your prose, it's not seeing the outline. It sees your outline to generate the beat. So I would still put your beat header in that beats box, but you can still do the instructions. Jade, I'm sure you've been in enough classes, you've seen how I usually prompt in each chapter to have instructions to the way I want it to generate the beats. I can still do that here. All right, so the rewrite did work for my format at least. Did it open up? Yes, it opened up where I wanted it, just for whatever reason, he's still a seer. Let me scroll down. I want to see if it did 30 chapters here. And it did. So there you go. Again, I know I tested this several ways. When I put the number of chapters in just the genre box, that did not work. When I put it in just the synopsis box, that worked. But I think it was like a chapter, it worked close enough. But when I put it in genre and synopsis, it was always on point. So I do recommend doing that. Just in the genre box, I would do the three triple brackets, the triple square brackets for how many you want. And then the same thing in the synopsis box, wherever I have it at here. I did not put it here. Oh, I put it in the rewrite synopsis, sorry. Or rewrite outline, rather. So there you go. That is all the features I can show you right now. Rewrite, move the chapters around, naming, adding a chapter wherever, well, I did something. I clicked a button. The program was the drama then. I just clicked the button to show and it like ran and hid. So you can add the chapter act. Let's try it now. Okay, so after chapter 1, there has to be another button I'm supposed to click because it's just not working. Or unless, okay, wait. I clicked this first after chapter 1, add chapter. That's the order. See, I was doing it. Damn it, I am the drama. Right, so if you click just add chapter, it's going to plop in a chapter right there at the top. Or no, because I still have the one selected. So if I click just add chapter with this default, it's going to drop in a chapter right here. If you want it in a certain spot, click that first. After chapter 8, then click whatever you want, chapter or an act. And then if I scroll down to under chapter 8, there it is. I figured it out. I learned with y'all today. Hang on. Hey, Echo. I finished my task.
Good girl.
All right. Nobody else want to tell me good girl?
Your next event is
I have Alexa doing it for me.
September today at 2 p.m.
You're welcome, Tanya. All right. So are there any questions before I stop the recording? As always, I'll hang out after. So if people don't want to talk on the recording or anything. Any questions before I cut that off? Yeah, y'all are really going to, I'm so looking forward to the rewrite chapter though. It's going to be a game changer for me, especially if I need help making something darker or sexier times or something. I actually wonder if I could rewrite it. Keep it current details and add in 3 chapters. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because we know this takes a while now. But thank y'all for hanging out with me and good luck getting into the beta. If you don't get into the beta, they're going to do this in waves, but hopefully it'll also be coming out soon. So bye everyone.